Hello everyone, I'm Greg Look, thank you for joining me, and welcome for the first time to Kerbal Space Program 2. Now I wanted to try something a little bit different than Factorio, and I've been playing Kerbal Space Program 1 for a couple of hundred hours when it released, basically. I've been in the early access as well. And yeah, I've been looking forward to this. There are a lot of bad reviews regarding performance though, and obviously that is a little worrying. I do not have the strongest, most beefy computer in the world, but we will see how it goes. This might just be the shortest series ever if we just get really bad performance, but we'll see. So I haven't tried anything in here yet, so I really don't know what I'm getting into other than just I expect it to be more Kerbal Space Program. But I think we're just gonna leave everything at default and just call this Great Look. That's fine, everything is fine. I just want to try some stuff out. So this does say start campaign, but it also said sandbox. And I believe that there is no campaign yet. So we might just have to set up some goals for ourselves. But let's see what happens in here.
Your new space program, leaping forward into the cosmos. Since the dawn of Kerbal kind, we have looked to the sky and wondered what sublime mysteries lie hidden in the darkness, like jewels never beheld. These untold treasures may soon reveal themselves due to the efforts of recently founded Kerbal Space Program.
Oh my! I think that might have been the only copy of the orientation film. Hold on! Slides, somewhere. Welcome to your first day running the Kerbal Space Program. This campus hosts the greatest ever gathering of astronomers, astronauts, and engineers. After years of focused effort, this collection of geniuses has created several very impressive buildings. We believe we have all the necessary pieces to take our first steps off the ground. The best way to advance our technologies further is to get up there and learn by doing. All we need now is somebody to show us how to put all these parts together. Well, we also need somebody to help us out with the flying. We need a lot of help, actually. That's why you're here. My name is Paige, by the way. If you need any hints, feel free to visit me over at the training center. Everything in there is well padded, so it's a great place to get up and running. Welcome aboard!
Well then, I hope that wasn't too... well, the voice was okay there. What do we have? And welcome, all good. Yes, I would like to start building right away, I guess. And let's just see what sort of parts we have to work with. So we do have a lot of parts that, well, sort of indicates that there's no progression yet. So I think we will need to set up some goals for ourselves. And let's just start that right away. And this might not all be done in one episode, but I hope we at least get somewhere. So I would like to just start very basic or very simple. Let's just try to get to space and back again. No orbit or anything, just get into, well, or get out of the atmosphere. So get to space. Then I guess the next step is get to orbit. And what then? Get to the moon? Or the Mun, I think it's called in this. And then just to add something a little bit more advanced than just flying wherever you want to, let's just do some rendezvousing in orbit. So building a space station, very small space station, but something we have to put up there in smaller parts. I think that should be doable. And then we can think about visiting other planets at some point in the future. But let's start with these goals. So for that we obviously need to get to space we shouldn't need too much of a rocket. How big are these? Oh, so they are marked for small, medium, large. Let's just get some of this out there. Could I just build, please? I'm sure I'm gonna hate myself for skipping all of this, but I want to get to building. So I guess this is a 1-person capsule, a 3-person capsule, and 5-seat. That all makes sense. I think we will just start with the basic 1 seat for a pilot. And we will need some fuel. And I just want to know if, yes, the medium are larger, obviously, in diameter. Large, even larger, and very large, or extra large. And they are ordered by propellant, it seems. So I guess we have some engines that use methane and some that use methalox. Xenon, hydrogen. Wouldn't we also need oxygen tanks if we were doing... I guess they're built in. But I thought the difference between methalox and methane was that there's an oxidizer in methalox already or something. Well, maybe not. I am no expert. So since there's more to work with in methalox, I guess this is just where we'll go. Unless it says something about that we shouldn't use this in an atmosphere. But it doesn't. Oh, at least I don't see it. So, what is the simplest thing we can do? Put a capsule on top of some fuel and put that on top of a rocket engine. And I know these two from Kerbal Space Program 1. And I think the only difference is that one of them doesn't swivel, so it can't steer. Which is this one. Yeah, one direction of thrust. Whereas this can vector. And I guess we want that. So, just to get a feel of it, let's just see how this goes. Yes, we have a flight cluster. Speed. Or speed up or pause, so time controls. Staging. So, no staging. Why is that arrow pointing to nothing? Was I supposed to set up stages? Maybe. I don't need save. What's this? Nobody knows. Go. So they've added a countdown, and that's just a nice little touch, I guess. Let's see our performance dip. No? Maybe not. Well, we should throttle down, I guess. So there are some controls like stability control and other things that I guess are just the same as in Kerbal Space Program 1. Oh, and here's our whole complex. You have several launch pads apparently, and runways, and other stuff. I'm not sure what this is for, but maybe we'll find out. So, to start with, I'm just gonna assume that all of the numbers are going to be the same as in Kerbal Space Program 1, where if you get above 70,000 kilometers, you are in space. No, 70 kilometers, not 70,000. 70,000 meters. And could you stop talking while I'm flying, please? So we can see our, well, apoapsis is just the expected highest point of our flight. This is our altitude. And where is our view? I guess that's this one. And where's our speed? That must be this. I have no idea if we will be shown if there's too much wind resistant or anything like that. If we will start burning up or something. So I guess we'll just throttle back up. And well, since we're just going to space, then, or trying to get to space, then I'm not gonna worry about too much about going sideways other than what I'm already doing. And, oh, I guess I just made the mistake of not adding any parachutes or anything. This is gonna be a heck of a landing. I think we'll just revert that. But this should get us into space. We will get up to... How do you see it? Okay. So 200 kilometers. That's pretty good. I will just take this time to learn. See, are we actually in space now? How would I tell? How would we know? Anything? Doesn't say anything about it up there. So how would you know if you're in space? Or not? So the amount of atmosphere seems to be empty. I guess this actually tells us that we're in space, as this would be the most amount of, or highest amount of atmosphere, and this is space up here with the stars or something. That's not very easy to see, but I guess I'm just scared of new UIs and stuff. Okay, so I do not want to kill Bill Kerman. So let's see if we can revert this to Vehicle Assembly Building. And just call, well, maybe we should test out a parachute. We could just call the task of getting to space done, but before we start going to orbit and spend a lot more time, maybe we should see if I can actually figure out how to do parachutes and stuff. And since a fuel tank is very heavy, we would like to get rid of that before re-entering the atmosphere. Which we can do with one of these stack decouplers. Should we get a heat shield as well? Just to, well, have less of a chance of burning up. I think so. And we should definitely not decouple that as soon as we start the engines. That would be bad. And Parachutes. So a drogue parachute is not something you actually use as a parachute, I believe. It's just made or meant to slow you down a bit so you can deploy a normal parachute. Oh, and these are large in some way. That's large. So what I'm looking for might be this, unless that's a drogue as well. It is not. So I believe we do not need a drogue parachute for a short travel into space and then leaving again, or coming back to Kerbin. But that's just what I think. And I think this should go into its own stage. Okay. Good. Anything else? There's no sort of science or anything, right? We could do this stuff with solar panels and such, but let's leave that until we actually need it. We can use clamps if we want to start off the ground. Let's just try that to learn. And save this. Yeah, sure, fly safe. Okay, let's try this again. And hopefully we can actually return this time. That looks safe. Will it unclamp? No, it will not. We need to start the engines when we unclamp. At least I want to. And let's start at 70% thrust. And let's just do the countdown thing again. I think you can just activate your stage. And I guess we will also just try to get as close to reaching an orbit as possible. I thought I had put on an FPS counter. As it isn't running too well, to be honest. User interface, no. FPS, show FPS. Where does it show my FPS? I have no idea. Maybe that just isn't available yet or something. Yeah, you can probably see that be a bit chubby just when panning around. That's a little bit sad. Let's just see how far out are we getting now. To 99 kilometers, okay. Let's just get out there and wait for... Oh well, use the rest of our thrust to just go sideways. And let's have a look here. It does look like it's 70 kilometers again. At least I think I saw that move right before reaching 70 kilometers. So we should be in space again. That's the Mun. And yeah, let's just use the rest of our fuel. It's not a lot. And there we go. How does that look? Well, it got wider. And it seems like we're hitting land, but we might be slowing down from the atmosphere too much to actually get there. We'll see. But we should drop our fuel tank. And I guess get ready to re-enter the atmosphere. And we'll just speed that up a bit. What are these speed steps? 10 times speed, 4, 2, okay. And will it stop the speed up when we hit the atmosphere? Let's just find out. Yeah, it does. Or at least the high speed stuff. Seems to still be able to go at 4 times speed. Okay. So in Kerbal Space Program 1, there was a difference between speeding up in atmosphere and outside of atmosphere. Or at least there was 2 different types of speed up. There was physics speed up where, well, the physics would still be simulated. And then there was just time warp, which you could only use outside the atmosphere to go a lot faster. Where it just skipped a lot of the processing of physics. But it seems like they have changed that a bit here, but, well, who knows. So, when should we be deploying this parachute and at what speed? It's safe to deploy it now, even though we're going at 1,000 meters per second. I guess we should just deploy it then. So when is it? At 1,000 meters it will start actually deploying, okay. That makes sense, then we don't have to wait too much to actually hit the water. Well, 3,000 meters. Let's just hope that the parachute actually works. Because hitting the water at 200 meters per second should be a big problem. But it does work, that's awesome. And it seems like they have spent a lot of time actually simulating the parachutes. Hopefully that doesn't, or isn't what is lowering the performance. But we will see when they fix it, I guess. Well, there's no real reason to look at that. We are just waiting to hit water. And that's gonna take a bit with this big parachute and not a lot of weight under us. Oops. Why is that being displayed more than once? That's a bug. But not the worst of them, so hopefully they will look into other problems first, like performance. So we are apparently all underwater. And we hit... we had the splash before we actually hit the visual water, so yeah. Whatever, it's not a fully released game, it's just an early access. So can we recover this vessel some way? Now in Kerbal Space Program 1 there was just a menu up here to do that. But that is not the case here. Oh, are we actually sinking? We are. Is that bad? What happens if we... Oh, nothing happens. Wait, what? Yeah, now I have 2 parachutes apparently. Go. 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 Okay, that's just weird. I'm not sure if we are still sinking or what we are doing here. Well, can we recover? Recover vessel, okay. Yes, please. Well done. Thank you. So after... What? Are we supposed to then revert as well? Or are we supposed to just go back to the space center? Do we still have a rocket out there or not? Yes, yes, yes. You can do a lot of stuff. So we have some debris, but that could just be our fuel tank. We have some moons. Is this our fuel tank? Well, I have no idea, to be honest. Okay, whatever. We did our first task. So, the next task. Get to orbit. And we need a little bit more thrust than we had. Maybe a lot more, but it looked like we got somewhat close. Can we... Whoops, get rid of this again, please. Do we have to go back to the menu for that? Save. Go, save again. Well, it is obviously buggy. And I probably wouldn't recommend spending a pretty high cost for an early access game. But if you like this sort of stuff, then you probably can't keep your hands off it like me. Though, to be honest, it would be, at least for me, it would be a lot better if there was a campaign with progression and stuff. But that's just me. Okay, an orbiting vehicle. This is probably still going to be our basis. Can we actually load our old one? Oh, you can just load stuff from the interwebs, unless it's just default in the game. I wonder if these pictures or thumbnails will get better at some point. Because it feels like a lot of the UI is a little bit of a step down from Kerbal Space Program 1. Okay, let's get rid of that for now. Then we have the capsule that can just drop back down with a parachute again. That should be good. Should we actually look at our delta velocity and stuff? Can we just do to Kerbin? No. Oh, we can. Oh, but... Okay, I'm scrolling through these too fast. So there's no option just for an orbit of Kerbin. But if we go to the Mun, we can see that we need 3400 delta velocity for a low Kerbin orbit. And we currently have 2400. So what if we just add one more fuel tank? Or half of our current fuel. That gets us to 30. How about a big one? 35. So if we do everything right, this should get us in orbit. So why not just test that out, see if I can actually figure out how this works. And sure, keep it as fly safe. Go. So does it tell me this every time? Well, maybe we need the full thrust this time. I don't actually know if our engine has enough power to lift twice the mass, basically. It does? Okay. No worries then. So obviously you can't spend too much fuel in, well, just to get to orbit, because we don't have too much fuel to waste. So I will just do what works for me in Kerbal Space Program 1 and start the, whatever it's called, orbit turn or something, a little early, just to build up a little bit sideways speed. And then around 10 kilometers we will go to 45 degrees. Maybe just start going towards that now. Because if you don't know, to get to orbit you don't really have to go up a lot, you have to go sideways a lot. But obviously you also have to get out of the thick part of the atmosphere, because that just slows you down and wastes your fuel. Can we turn off page? Again, we don't want to spend too much fuel going up. So basically as soon as we get our apoapsis out into space, we should just cut off our engine and float out into space and then go a lot more sideways. I feel like they've given you a lot more fuel density and engine thrust in this than in Kerbal Space Program 1, but that is probably going to be balanced at some later point. Is it just me, or does this look like Africa? Not that this really looks like Europe or this like America, but... well, maybe not. Maybe this is actually the same as Kerbal Space Program 1. Okay, this is annoying. I use the right mouse button to look around. But if I then release it while pointing at something, we get a menu. As if you clicked on it. That's a little bit stupid, I think, but that's just me. Okay, so we are actually outside of the atmosphere now. And can just point our rocket entirely sideways. And start thrusting. That didn't sound exactly like it should in my head. So, we don't want to get too far from our apoapsis here. Because I believe that is the point where we should use or need the least amount of fuel to change our periapsis, the lowest point of the orbit. So let's just get within a couple of seconds of this. And then start again. Whoops, don't pause. Wait. Whatever. So point towards our direction of our floating direction. I'm not sure what's that called. Prograde. We still have a little bit of fuel, but when we get into orbit, we also need to be able to get back, of course. So I'm gonna try to just get this just about 70 kilometers. There we go. And then hopefully we can use the rest of the fuel to speed down enough to be caught by the atmosphere. But we're actually in orbit now. And it should be a stable orbit. We shouldn't ever fall down from here before we start pointing retrograde and firing our engines again. So let's just do a couple of orbits, I guess. At 100 times speed. So I obviously want to come down on the sun side of this. So we should probably start our engines over here somewhere. Though that might take more thrust than from over here. This being the furthest away from Kerbin means that it's also the slowest point, at the point where we move the slowest. And that means we need less thrust to change our orbit. I'm not used to talking with these terms, but I'll get better hopefully. But how much delta velocity is this? Can we find out? Does it say directly anywhere? Oh, it is just 92. And we're currently flying what? 2300 meters per second minus 92. That might actually not be enough. But we should have tools to help us with this. I think. Stop giving me that one. Can you not plan? So in Kerbal Space Program 1, you could do some plans from your orbit to see how you could change it and stuff. Is that not possible? I guess this is where I should have read some of the pointers from page. Why is there no small note for this one? Tooltip, I mean. All the small things. Are there no maneuver notes in this? Let's go to the training center. Hopefully there's just tips in here. Orbits are weird. Yes, they are. So, hopefully it is in this part. I just want to see how much thrust I need to lower my apoapsis down below the atmosphere.
An equatorial orbit is good, but if you want to travel beyond Kerbin, you will need to manipulate your orbit.
We do some
We'll start with
settings in
something
here.
simple. Expanding
This is
an orbit.
not...
We do that by increasing the value of our...
Okay, just a second. I just want to increase the volume of her speaking. Because that is very low. Settings. Audio. I guess I should have lowered this, just the music or something. I haven't really heard anything else being loud other than the music. That sounds okay to me. So now page should be twice as loud, hopefully. Training. Orbits. This one.
An equatorial orbit is good, but if you want to travel beyond Kerbin, you will need to manipulate your orbit. Let's start with something simple. Expanding an orbit. We do that by increasing the value of our apoapsis. Let's get a good view. Remember how you circularized your orbit by increasing your forward velocity? To raise your orbit, you'll just do more of the same. It's time. Now that we're pointed the right way, we can increase the throttle and watch our orbit expand.
We are just going to do this a little bit fast, because I know most of this.
Ooh, cut the throttle. If you overdo it, you'll leave Kerbin's orbit entirely. Nice. That maneuver raised our orbit on the other side of Kerbin, so we will enter high orbit there. Waiting to reach a specific point can be as eventful as watching the neon stripes on your rover dry. The paint job will be worth it, but isn't it better to rush to the end? Skip ahead to the good stuff using a time warp. Like I said earlier, the highest point of our orbit is called the apoapsis. The lowest point of our orbit is known as the periapsis. By default, your camera is focused on your vessel, so if you can't see either of these points, adjust your camera. Scroll the middle mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Double-click an object to center your camera on it. Click the middle mouse button to enter FreeCam. Press Home to reset the camera to your active vessel. Excellent! You can time
That's
warp
what I
to
wanted
any
for
position on
my
your trajectory by selecting a point on your vehicle's current path,
rocket.
and then selecting Time Warp to Point.
Why couldn't I do that?
Now you're way up in the sky, so high that if you circularize your orbit now, you'll be in high orbit. Wow, the black starry void looks so small from here.
Good, good. Let's just do what she says and then get out of here. Or maybe play around a bit more. We have a good amount of fuel here. So we are in high orbit now. And we can just make a plan here. Oh, this is a mess though. So if we just burn prograde, then yes, we will increase our orbit. Good. And that's just what I wanted to see, and then see how much I needed to thrust in retrograde to lower my orbit. Where do you see the delta velocity? 18. So we had 90 or something to work with. Yeah, and we have no idea if that's actually enough for our use case. But let's just go see if I can make it work. the maneuver nodes. It is just left clicking on your orbit. Maybe we are too close to the Kerbin for that, maybe not. Maybe it was just bugged. It was just bugged up. Or is it because it was paused? You can't do it while paused. Okay. If we spend 70 delta velocity in that direction, we are well within the atmosphere on this side. So let's just do that. Good. And get rid of this if we can. How? Oh, like that. Okay. We are out of fuel, that's all well and good. Let's just see. 11 kilometers, that's more than enough. Hopefully we can avoid being burned up in the atmosphere though. So let's ditch the heavy part of this. And speed up until we hit the atmosphere. Good. And I guess speed up still. With such a shallow orbit, or whatever you call this, it will be some time before we're actually starting to slow down significantly. We need to get into the thicker part of the atmosphere. And I'm not sure where that starts, to be honest. But we should just see things starting to heat up. And plasma showing around the ship. So 50 kilometers closing in. And our point of impact is obviously moving closer to us because we are being slowed down now, just not a lot. But it is starting to go and slow us a bit faster. So we need that to, well, apparently this chute is just always safe. In Kerbal Space Program 1, you could never really be safe with your parachutes if you flew above 500 meters per second or something like that. But yeah, we are being slowed down quite well here now. And are apparently gonna land in the desert of all places. So well, we can warp a bit further. Our parachute is only expanding at 1 kilometer anyway. Unless we can change that to be a bit lower. Just tempt fate a little bit. Wait, why is that not deploying? Wait, that's not the button. Why did this not deploy? Didn't it say it was safe? Risky. Is that because we're too close to the ground? Okay. So it won't deploy while it's risky at its current mode. And is it risky because of our speed combined with the thickness of the air? Or what? In any case, it's getting pretty risky that we're so close to the ground, so maybe we should just allow it to deploy while being risky. And we didn't die. Awesome. Those sounds are weird. And touchdown. Whoops. Can we just disable this? You can recover your vessel here. What is it pointing at? Is it pointing at anything? So if that help thing is actually any use at all, then it should have been pointing at a button that we can click without opening our menu. This is just the stability. What is this? No idea. So this is not correct. Nothing at all. This is just having him going on an EVA. Which I guess we can just test. Standing in the air, apparently. Okay. Can you have him running towards you? Yep. Can we get him to fall? Maybe not. Get back inside, please. And we'll just recover from here, I guess. And go back to the tracking station. And then from here back to... Oh, well, whatever. Maybe it was pointing to this, which is a weird button. What even is that? Oh well. Kerbal Space Center. That is our second goal done. That's actually moving faster than I had thought. Are there no just goals from the game itself? Like a missions control or something? Launchpad 2, 3, and 4? Yes. I have no idea. But we have actually completed that goal as well. Now the more, hopefully more difficult ones are coming, but we shall see. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for in this episode. So thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.